Okay. I make a motion that we go back into open session.
Okay, that's at 7:16. Motion by Gutierrez, second by
Thanks.
Green. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
On item A, we accepted the final settlement agreement for the litigation.
That's action determined in closed session. Recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as public record. Pledge of allegiance led by Ms. Harkins.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. We have Ms. Pansky, Dr. Robinson, Mr. Bender, Ms. Gutierrez, and Michaela's not here. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Gutierrez, second by Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Comments from the public? Email only. Go ahead.
I do have one comment from RCSD. Reads, Madam President and Honorable Board, greetings. My name is Greg Wood, and I am sending these public comments on behalf of the Roseman Community Service District Board of Directors. I have been discussing with your board president, Yolanda Sanchez, an action passed recently by the Roseman Community Service Board of Directors regarding a proclamation proclaiming September 14, 2020 as Pray Rosamond Day, the day for the community to unite in prayer at noon hour on September 14, 2020 to ask God to eradicate and heal our community and nation from COVID-19. This proclamation originated in the city of Fort Worth, Texas, where they proclaimed August 19, 2020 as Prayer Fort Worth Day. And since then, many communities and cities in Texas have followed Fort Worth's lead and adopted their own proclamations for the day of prayer. The RCSD Board of Directors would like to encourage community leaders and churches in Roseman to join us in proclaiming September 14, 2020 as Pray Rosamond Day. Since this issue came to your attention after the posting of your agenda, and because of the time-sensitive nature of the proclamation, I am requesting you to please consider adding the matter to your agenda tonight as a late-breaking item for discussion and action. Thank you for your time and consideration. Greg Wood, President of RCSD, and Steve A. Perez, General Manager.
Okay, thank you. RTA report? No? CSCA report?
Okay, so I'm gonna pass these out first because there is a little confusion, so I made copies of some stuff for each of you board members. You want me to do that, Sam? So first, I'll wait for you guys to go. Oh, I'm sorry. As kind of did other even and I didn't even think about review. That's okay. So first I wanted to, there seemed to be some confusion about my report last week. As you can see, I started up where I want to be talking about. I said that as of the start of school, with the next day, Quinn came to me and stated that I said as of yesterday. So I want to clarify, that is not what I said. I said as of the start of school. That there was about 20 air conditioners broken all over. So I want to clarify that. Doing some work, I found out that it was a matter of within 20 days, Chase had gotten about 26, give or take. You have the report. That's the stapled report. I believe you guys are able to get in and see these reports yourselves. To fix, that's one guy in 20 days to fix 20 some odd air conditioners. So the whole point of all of that was to say one guy to fix air conditioning in the middle of summer. And I believe I see the day of the meeting. I believe you look, there's 6 were added just that day, 6 air conditioners in one day for one guy. The main focus was that there are 2 admin over 5 people. 5. 3 are grounds, 2 are maintenance. Of all of those people, 1 can do air conditioning. That was what I was trying to focus on. And I'm sorry if that got lost in my message. Again, with so few maintenance people, we'll go back to last January. It was brought to the district's attention that there was a hole at Tropico. A student was escaping, running down the street, Roseman Boulevard. It was brought to the district's attention. Luckily, COVID happened. We don't know when it got fixed. We know that as of February, it had not been fixed. 2 supervisors, and over a month it had not been fixed because we talked about it in January, beginning of January. That is a big issue for us. That's a lot of work on so few people. So that was, and I do want to say, I did have some of my facts wrong in there, and I wanted to correct it. That's why I gave you guys the copy of. So then, the other main focus was respect. Several people sent to you asking about, what about us? We asked you to tell us how come our lives aren't as important. We're not asking for the same benefits that the teachers are getting. We understand that our jobs are different than the teachers. We understand that we have certain jobs like maintenance, like kitchen, like custodial, that cannot work off-site. What we're asking for is a little bit of flexibility. That's all we're asking for, but we're not getting that respect. And that respect, that lack of respect, sinks down. And we get teachers who disrespect us. That's not okay. We're supposed to be a united front. And with a divide, that's just not okay. I was brought up that you treat a custodian the same way you treat a CEO, the CEO of a company. And I don't understand why that doesn't happen here in this district. The next I want to talk about is, thank you to Mr. Kingsley for bringing up the furlough days from Patty's. Here is a copy, and you can have one to Ms. Gaines, because you were not here when that was signed, but you were here for the meeting. You can take whichever copy you want, just one's not stapled. When we did the big layoff because of the massive debt, we were trying to correct the mistake that happened and put attendance back at the school sites, especially the high school and the junior high. To do that, we offered 2 furlough days with the understanding it was 2 furlough days for the 1920 and the 2021 school year, with the understanding that we'd be back again in March to see where we stand if we could take those furlough days away. We didn't meet in March, it was June. But we did meet.
Yeah, we've been a couple.
Obviously March was a rough month. Who knew, right? We did meet. Jonathan did say that it did look good. Obviously, it looked well because we're out of debt. You gave Ms. Gaines a raise. We still don't have our furlough days back. So we're just bringing that back up. And I'm sorry, Ms. Gaines. I understand this. There's a lot of pressure from COVID. But you brought up furlough days, and there's a huge difference between furlough days and what was being presented. What was being presented was staff like myself, a parent, I can Zoom with my teacher from home. Staff like the secretaries and the office staff, they can take some work to do at home and do a round robin so that there is always a staff member in the office to answer phone calls. That is what she meant. Furlough days were not meant. And Ms. Gaines, that is why it was brought up. So I apologize for bringing it up in this way and in this fashion. Ms. Gaines has been very fair in this, and I do want to say with the understanding, I'm sure she would have worked with us on that. So don't take that as a negative with Ms. Gaines. But you brought up furloughs, so I brought it up. You asked why you don't see us here that often. A lot of us have, that was heard on, I don't know who said it, I'm sorry. We have families, and especially right now, people are at home working with their children because they can't do it from work. Some of us are in school, trying to get a degree, trying to become a teacher. Some are worried about the COVID and they're working all day. They want to be home quarantined at night. That's why you don't see us a lot. But don't think that we're not paying attention. We are. We watch the videos on YouTube. As I said, that is, I think, broke YouTube back in July. But we're not frustrated. We've moved past frustrated and we've moved past mad. We have been treated badly for a very long time. And we want it to stop. And that's it.
Thank you, Mary. CPO report.
Hey, can we, can you stay for a minute, please?
Mary?
I remember being in her position many times. You come and talk to the board and there's no response. I hated it. I want to respond to a couple of your things. One is, I looked at these and yeah, it's tough. I didn't go over them, just going over a few of them, but a lot of them, one was canceled. Seems like a lot of them were fixed the very same day, from Chase.
Chase is a good worker.
He is a good worker.
He works hard.
And
Want to make that too. Chase is a good worker. He works hard.
we went and checked.
There was nothing bad about Chase in either of my reports. Good worker.
I went and checked on that right after the meeting, and they said that they also call in a subcontractor too when things like that get busy. Your comment about 2 supervisors for 4 workers or whatever it is, I believe they're hands-on, I believe, workers, so they're not really a supervisor sitting in the office. They are out there working too. I've seen them out there digging holes. I've seen them out there fixing things. So I don't want them to feel like they're just some office personnel that's just writing out supervising. I do see them out there working. They seem to be working hard every time I see them. I don't see them all the time, but
Well,
it seems
obviously
like
they're not office personnel because when you guys questioned and you should have, because obviously there was confusion. This should have been able to be printed out to you and said there was some confusion. This is what was going on. You guys should have been able to get this the next day. I should not have had to been tracked down and ask where I got my information from. So obviously they are not office workers.
Yeah, to me, they're hands-on, they're out there working too. I would like to look into some more of your Zooming, like you said, you can Zoom from home too. It's good that you bring this stuff in here so we can realize and really get a picture of who we're dealing with and what we're talking about. So I appreciate you coming and sharing on your heart, and we know we're in difficult times. This is all new to all of us. Unfortunately, some people have to be at the facility to do work, and those that we can let go, I believe Barbara's done a good job, and maybe we need to look into it a little bit deeper. And but a lot that's here, I think, really needs to be here to do the work that needs to be done.
It's like I said, classified is a very wide and very, we're not teachers. We're not cut and dry. We do have maintenance. We do have the kitchen staff. We have secretaries. We have custodial and maintenance, and we have all sorts of job duties. So we're not cut and dry. And that's why we keep reiterating, we're not asking for the same accommodations that the teachers get. But we just want you to keep in mind that we are humans too. We have the same concerns. We have the same worries. And we're not getting the same respect. At least we're not seeing it or feeling it.
I really want you to feel it, because I think we're trying, because I'm in the same situation. I work every single day. You leave your family, your work. I think we're trying to do our very best to be fair, and it really hurts me where I hear people say we're not being treated fairly, because I really want to be a fair person and treat everybody fairly and do the very best for everybody. It's going to be hard. This is hard.
And I did talk to Mrs. Glenda for about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she had told you. I went over her letter with her.
Okay.
And I explained that you can't be bad with the board. And I even responded to yours.
Yes.
You sent me data. I said, I believe I asked for data, and you told me where I can go get it, okay? I'm trying to get to the point, we gotta be data driven when we make a decision. And if you leave it up to us to get the data, I can find 10 things to support your argument and 10 things against your argument. So what am I gonna do? You and your team gotta help us help you. You gotta, you said you had data, and I said, can I get that data? And you said, talk to HR down the road. Well, I can look on the internet and I can find all kinds of data. So I need you to give me what you're seeing so we can have the data to make database decisions. Because if it's up to me, it's 50-50 either way, it's gonna be a coin toss which way I go. But if you're telling me what you're seeing, hey, that's what they did the research, that's what they're going. So help us help you. And I explained to her in her message, what she told me over the phone is not what was in the letter. What was in the letter is that those folks in those situations should be able to stay home free of charge. Now, when she talked to me, that's not the way it went. She said, well, they can do training on it. Well, that's fine, but put that in the data that you're giving us, because when you're giving us those letters, we're following your writing. And it's not, I walk the dog, and if the dog's not walking, it's going off like this, I'm not getting to the point that you want to give us. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and that's why it's interesting, because my letter last time was actually a shared document, and it was actually a little bit of everyone from the board helped create the letter. So to be honest, I'm not sure if I am the one that brought up the
I don't know who brought that up. I just threw out there.
But I do know that it was brought up, and I do know that it was thrown out there. So I was like, well, this is where you can find it. But I didn't think that I was the one. So
yeah, you answered it. So whoever answered it, I believe you answered it, or you asked me the question. So for everybody out there, help us help you. If you have data you want us to consider to support your argument or your position, give us that data. Because if we got, like I said, if we got to go out and get it on our own, there's just as many articles supporting your position and against your position. So then it's left up to us kind of, so let us know what you're seeing, you know. Quite honestly, when you said, oh, you can call the HR guy, whoever what that was, should have provided us the data, you know, because it's your position, it's your argument. So feed us, you know, and that was the intent.
Okay.
Okay. And I think Mrs. Glendale understood, you know, narrow it down. Say in there, hey, we do training, you know, this place is doing that. So we have those options, you know, instead of just making it appear as certain, you know, certain career fields or certain job title or descriptions where, as it was suggested, we just stay at home and not get paid, which I'm a money guy and I'm a data give and drop guy, and I was not allowed that. The other Form A, that I'm not gonna allow people just stay at home and not push that ball forward for the district.
No,
You gotta
and,
provide something to the fight, you know what I'm saying?
and I can't speak for everyone, obviously, but I know as for myself, that is why I volunteered to do the child supervision. We were being paid to sit home, and that wasn't right to me. So when that opportunity came up, I volunteered as many times as I could because I was being paid. I needed to be doing something.
And that's similar to your argument, we did discuss that there are, your job classification is more conducive to working from home all the time. Some aren't, you know, you can't do what you're supposed to do from the house, so there's the quandary, because you are so broad, you are so, you know, and we discussed that. And I think she understood, I don't know if she passed it on to the rest of you, but like I said, it was an hour, maybe longer discussion on it. She had valid points, but they were never presented, you know, to us all, you know, they had to come out and drawn out in an interview or a discussion. We had to draw that out, so.
And say it,
It does, help us help you.
like I said, it does get hard because we have, I know the office staff goes and they keep up their training. There's always new technology coming out for the office. I've seen Miss Galindo, I've seen Miss Benson. Those are the two that I've worked with the most, so I am going to assume, and I know that's probably a bad thing, but I'm going to assume the other ones do as well. I've seen them go to college classes for modern office. And I know I'm not supposed to say names, I apologize, but I've seen them go to classes just to keep up with what's coming up in the modern office areas. And we do all of this stuff on our own time as well as working. So it's a lot for us to juggle.
I appreciate you coming tonight and sharing. To me, I'd rather hear it like this than read a letter, and I like to respond. You know, like I said before, I don't like being in your situation and everybody just looks at you. I like to respond to you, and so you know that we understand, we're listening, and I really thank you for opening that up to us tonight, and I appreciate it. And I'm sure there'll be some more discussion about it, and we'll see what we can do. And to me, I want to be fair with everyone. But the letters we got last time were just overwhelming because they were all basically, to me, I felt, we don't want to be here, we want to be at home. And we just can't do that.
It's overwhelming because the emotional side for that is these are parents. A
Yeah, I
lot of the
understand.
letters you got are from parents who their children are having meltdowns because they can't connect on Zoom. They can't connect with their teacher. They're not understanding what's going on. And the parents can't be there to help them. And it's heartbreaking for the parents to have to decide, do I lose money and help my children, or do I put food on the table and let my child suffer? And it's heartbreaking, and you guys got the heartbreaking part.
It's all heartbreaking. It's a tough one. It really is.
But it's heartbreaking worldwide.
It is everywhere.
We are not a microcosm. of
No.
it.
No.
It's just-
It is
It is
heartbreaking.
worldwide. Go down the street, they're selling the same thing. On base, every career field, every job out there is suffering that way. So, you know, it's not just a microcosm here.
Exactly.
You know, we're monkey on football. It is everywhere, and hard money, you gotta give us that. You gotta help us out.
And I like them to realize too, that to remember that the board voted to go back to school. And we will stand 100% to go back to school as soon as we can. We got stopped at doing it. I shared last meeting that I couldn't believe my granddaughter was crying because she couldn't Zoom. You know, she was actually crying because she couldn't get into her class. So it's heartbreaking for everybody. We're feeling the same thing everyone else is.
It's very sad and disheartening for our children. And that's, mine are in college, but they're still my children in the classroom. I may not be the teacher, I may be the parent, but they're still my children.
That's right.
So
Thank you.
anyways, thank you. And I will try to come because I know my name is Mary Say. So I will always try to be here to read from now on.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mary.
Thank you.
Okay, CBO report, Mr. Park.
Good evening, thank you. And thank you, Mary, for your points. Just to carry off on Mr. Bender, I was at Transportation Services following the last meeting when you showed up, and I appreciated you being there. I recognized that you were there in response to the things you had heard previously, and I think they appreciated it. It is little things, and you all do those little things with staff, and sometimes I think they go unacknowledged as well. But when staff see you out and about, they do appreciate that. And they did circle back with me and mention that not all of them knew that I was in the main office when they saw you out in the back of the yard. So that was a great thing. And once again, I talk about my transportation staff and my nutrition services staff all the time, but that program has been in flux. We feel like we're maybe verging on spamming the community with robocalls right now, but as we try to pull back a little bit from that, we don't want to leave folks out of the know because the program is shifting a lot. We started the year doing just breakfast and lunch and serving it throughout the day, and then we changed our schedule to not conflict with classes. And we started having 4 sites, and now we're out in the community and expanded some of those sites as well. And now the program itself has allowed us to open up and serve more than just breakfast and lunch, so that they started serving snack and dinner because we began providing some tutoring services, after-school tutoring services. And now the national program has recognized a slump in overall meal participation across the country, so they allowed us to open up to serving the broader community the way we were in the spring. So now the program is shifting into high gear, serving breakfast, lunch, snack, and dinner. Not just to our enrolled students, but once again to students 2 to 18, children 2 to 18, in the community. So they're much higher demand, and today they are actually running low on food at the sites, and so the off-campus sites, and so the vans were rushing back to grab more food and return to be able to serve the needs and the requests that were there. So they ramped up production for tomorrow. They're doing a great job, and it's really nice to see the 2 departments partnering together to do the best that they can to meet the needs of our community, especially our students. So thank them, thank you.
Got a quick question. I think last time we talked, you said they did like 900 meals for the day. Now that's quite a bit lower than normal. I mean,
I think I said it. Well, I don't remember what it said. Yeah, I think I said 700
yeah.
something. So double that. Right.
For breakfast, lunch. Yeah, you double it for breakfast, lunch. So, but I mean, usually we're doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 3,000 students, right? Roughly our enrollment.
When we're in session,
Yeah.
it approaches that, yeah. And we're building back. We're not back yet to what we were at in the spring. But as we've opened up, the demand is opening up.
So we're starting to get, so dinner will now be picked up in the morning, or are we doing different times
So everything will be picked up
in the morning?
at one time.
So breakfast, lunch,
And
snack,
then
and
there
dinner.
are- Right, and then at the sites, they have a later pickup time as well.
They do have a later pickup time?
Yes. So that they've been messaging that out to families through the voice and email blast.
And I usually go probably 3 times a week to pick up the breakfast and that, and it seems to be going really smooth.
Good.
I'd like to see it be a lot more. I'd like to see us to get up to 6,000 like we did in the normal days.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of kids out there not cashing in on our breakfast and everything there. For some reason, I mean, are we not?
Mr. Bender, if I can just piggyback on what Mr. Barth said, just a couple of days ago, the federal government has resorted back to the summertime program, which we feed all the children in the community, regardless of whether they're our students or not, ages 1 up to 18, I believe. And so the school district actually receives full price for each one of those meals from the government. So we will be back to doing that. It's a lot less restricted, and so you'll see our meal count more than likely double or triple in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. So they won't be requiring students' IDs or names?
They will not. And when school started, we were asking for names, right? And that was because at that point, the program did revert back to the traditional method of only allowing us to serve students currently enrolled in our district. As it's just been a couple of days, as Superintendent Gates said, that we've had fully relaxed federal requirements on that piece. And now anyone up to age 18 can come and request meals. They do not need to be present. We try to encourage that we know who people are, so that we do have the ability to meet demand and keep things reasonable, but it's not the job of the people there to be police and trying to guard anyone either. So we're keeping things moving smooth. I'm glad to go to this smooth review. I know I passed a patient the other day, Ryan Pastor, at a school site where they were passing out food and enrollment bars of mine. I was kind of surprised by that. But that's the experience people were having is when you're serving in the middle of the day, it's difficult for a lot of people, right? So a lot of parents are either home with no transportation and don't have the ability to come, or they're out and working, and the students are home alone maybe, or home with supervision and can't come. So we're trying to really broaden the ability to we expanded the morning service time a little bit as well, so that if we were too early for some people, we made it a little bit later. The early time a little bit longer to try to create a better window.
Okay. So I'll be able to pull up and say I need 10 meals and you'll give them to me?
If you would like 10 school lunch meals.
I mean, if I have that many
If
students.
you have that many students.
Okay. Right now I get 6, so I'm almost there.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barth. Associate Superintendent, Ms. Hargis.
Good evening. Curry County has allotted our district 100 licenses for our 6th grade through 12th grade staff to participate in an online suicide prevention training. This training is mandated by Assembly Bill 1808, and we also have some board policy and administrative regulations that govern that. So the teachers received that information today. We have a Wednesday minimum day on the 23rd. And so you said, instead of PLCs on that day, take the opportunity to take this valuable training. So looking forward to them participating in that. And then in a few weeks, they're going to give us 500 licenses for students to also participate in the training. So we have about 1,400 students that fall into 7th grade through 12th grade. So we'll have to be a little bit strategic and figure out where we're going to best use those 500 licenses. But certainly that is a significant number of students that will be able to participate. Sending out our 4-week letters. We'll be doing those out on Friday. And what those are mandated also by the state. And what they are is we send those to parents of teachers, if they're a PIP or a STIP, and those are teachers that are working on their credentials. And really it just lets parents know, hey, you know what, the teacher's working on their credentials. We're working closely with them in Ed Services and in HR. So those will be going out. Class loads, we've been looking at those for Tropico and the high school. That's an arduous process at the best of times, trying to balance those classes. So just imagine trying to balance classes, change schedules while we're doing distance learning. So, patients as they go through that process. But they're doing a great job. I know teachers are working hard, administrators are working hard, and we certainly appreciate that. In listening to parents, I think that when we do finally get back to school, we're going to have the best attendance that we've ever had, because now parents realize, I want somebody else to do this, and this Zoom and all that kind of stuff is kind of for the birds most of the time. So looking forward to having some great attendance when we return to school. And then back to class loads, we do have an opening in kindergarten and first grade over at Richmond Elementary, and we'll be doing those interviews on Tuesday. So hopefully we'll find some great candidates for those. And then as you were, Mrs. Kluskowski was talking about paraeducators, we are very hopeful we can bring back a small cohort of students to our school sites. And so we have decided that we're going to concentrate on math. So we can have a cohort of 14 students in different grades. So the school sites are putting those together. We have some teacher interest in teaching, an hour, a couple days a week. And then we also have our ACES paraeducators that we may bring back for some additional tutoring after those sessions. So we're really looking forward to, getting a small portion of kids back, some paraeducators, really doing what they love to do. And then, the teachers, reinforcing some of those math concepts. So exciting times.
Mrs. August, if that suicide training was worthwhile, have you already went through it?
I have no mind.
Do you know how much licenses are?
I don't know,
You
but I
said you
can
were
certainly
one
ask.
in 500, but if you wanted to, 1 in 500, you said?
Yeah,
So if we
yeah,
wanted to
500%.
go, every teacher gets it, and more students we find are at risk, or we want to do more, do you know how much is their license?
As far as teacher licenses, I'm not sure, but usually it's a 7th grade through 12th grade staff, but I actually said, hey, our middle school is 6th grade through 8th grade. Would it be possible to include the 6th grade teachers? Let me check. And he came back and said, yeah, you can have those licenses. So maybe I'll wait a couple days and say, hey, got some extra student licenses for us. So we'll see. And then, if not, then, what would it cost each for those? I'll find out.
And we already pushed mandated report. Mandated report, trying to push that out.
I don't know if we've done that this year.
Supposed to do it every year.
We do. We generally do, and we do generally do it at the school year, so I'll have to check with Lisa and HR. They send those out, they're automated and just.
So can I suggest that, when you're looking at what students would be candidates to take this, that you start with your advanced U leaders first?
Okay.
Do we still have an inquiry?
I'm sorry.
Do we still have an inquiry link?
I do not, I am not 100% sure, but I do not think so.
And one last question for you, so those teachers that have overages, what's the percentage of those that actually claim, you know?
Oh, that I'm not sure.
Is it small or is it? It's based on our current number, they did figure it's about 90,000 people.
Honestly, I don't know, because I don't see those.
I'm not sure, I would assume it's a small percentage, because I know when I had overages, I don't claim
It's a big, it is a big, I'm not sure what the percent, I'm not honestly sure what the percentage of specific teachers in the section or multi-class night is.
I was just curious if it was almost everybody with good feet. Because sometimes it's more paperwork than that, but usually worth the squeeze. I'll say.
Usually it's only a time sheet, so it's not really that much paperwork. All it is, it's a number on there and you sign it. So I think everybody used to claim it.
I don't know if that's the case, but worst case scenario, I think it was like 90K, which is less than one teacher.
Right.
So
It
it's not bad.
definitely has been in this year most recently ended. Fiscally in the overall district's favor, it has not been burdensome district-wide to pay out the overages. You know, there is a tipping point and we watched that, especially in areas where consistently we saw overages coming in, but it was still more cost effective to get to.
And I did ask for the numbers because I got to thinking when we do go back to school, we're always operating under the assumptions that it's what the union contract says, 30 kids, we split it in half, it's 15 and 15, so we got enough room in the classrooms and portables. But if you see some of the numbers, some people are over 8 kids or 6 kids, so then that is now 18 and 18, we passed that tipping point. So I just wanted us, before we made this decision going forward, for us to not necessarily go with assumptions, go with the actuals.
Right.
Because the assumptions can get us in trouble.
Yeah.
If we're automatically saying, hey, it's 14 in Tropico, it's 15, and that's not the case when you look at those numbers. So I just want us to have the right assumptions when we're trying to make a decision going forward. Do we have green? Do we have, if that makes sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Just to sort of piggyback on what Leanne was talking about today, Leanne and I looked at the numbers, and what we found was that before anybody is going to get paid for overages, the site admin need to balance their classes. When you have a teacher, for example, who has 22 students in one period, 34 in another period, 30 in another period, there needs to be some movement. And to sort of elaborate on what Leanne was talking about, it's not the easiest time to really verify how many students we have in class. If we had traditional school, you simply go and count the kids in the class, and you know if somebody's missed a week, chances are they're no longer in our district. However, in distance learning, some of the kids we can't tell are they still enrolled? Do they have a Wi-Fi issue? Are they purposely not zooming into the classes as they should? There are multiple reasons there that the site admin have to verify first. It's been a little bit of a process for Yesenia and in Ed Services to really work on our attendance, but before any overages will be paid, the site admin are going to have to balance those numbers. And we found, for example, one PE class that had 22 students in it, and with the same teacher, another PE class that had like 66, was it, Leanne? Or
I think 63.
63. And that's just, some of the kids may not have shown up. When you schedule kids, some of those kids may not show up. And so it's a process of, okay, now 8 or 9 kids, I'm making this up, did not show up for that period. However, 22 to 60 something, that's a huge gap. Some of those kids, now's the time, are gonna have to be moved. And sometimes it's difficult because maybe there's a class that child has to have, an elective class that really, that's the best time for them to have PE, or maybe they're in algebra and or they're in honors classes. So it is a process. It takes several days to right that wrong after the dust has settled. But we know that the admin are looking at those numbers now.
Payout starts at 30 days.
I believe the day is Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I think Superintendent Ms. Gaines.
Okay, a few things here. First of all, I wanted to talk a little bit about the special education and the English learners. What Mrs. Hargis talked about was our after-school math academy, math clinics, whatever. We know that one of the areas that our children really struggled with learning loss across the states, especially in California, was in the area of math. So we talked about, if we're gonna do a clinic, an academy. Let's have all of our schools focusing on math right now. That would be after school so that teachers are not double dipping. We're not paying teachers to teach during their regular teaching day. However, what I want to talk about now is, as you probably heard earlier in closed session, there are lawsuits that are coming about due to questionable services for our special ed children, for their ability to be able to zoom in. Are we really able to always meet the needs? In many cases, yes, we can, but in some cases, no, not so much. So the federal government a while back stated that we are not going to relieve you, LEAs, of liability for these lawsuits. So the state has come along and said, but what we will let you do is open up school with specific cohorts of 14 children, no more, 2 adults maximum in the room, providing that you have a plan, you have the distance spacing all ironed out, you have transportation. If it says in the child's IEP that the child will be transported by bus service, then we will provide that transportation. So we're meeting Friday morning with Leanne, myself, Cheryl, and Lisa, a couple people, to begin the plan. Most school districts, we had a Zoom meeting today, Kern County Superintendent of Schools. Most of the school districts are planning this for the latter part of September. We have to have an MOU because, again, the teachers have to say, okay, special education teachers, you can return to work on campus. This is on campus learning, not distance learning. Our first goal is special ed children who have an IEP. Our second goal would be our English learners. And our third goal, if we still have any space left on a campus, because we can only accommodate up to 25% of the campus. And there can only be, as I said, 14 children in one room, distance spacing and all of that. So it's probably gonna take us to the latter part of September, even just to get the MOU in place, because we still have not signed off on the other MOU, although we believe we're like right there with RTA. We hope to have that finished very, very soon. So this is something that we want to get in place, and we want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to meet the needs of our children who have special needs and who have an IEP, first and foremost, and then moving on to our English learners and down to our most at-risk students. So I wanted to share that with you. We will be putting that plan in place starting Friday. We'll meet about that. I also wanted to tell you that on the 9/16 meeting, I will agendize a motion that references voting to rescind the 45-day revise that you approved on August 5th. And at that same time, the new 45-day revise will be added to the agenda for you to approve, along with the unaudited actuals. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. I also wanted to say this evening, and I hope she's zooming in, our new student board member, Michaela Gaddis, who I understand 2 years ago as a sophomore was a student board member. So we want to welcome her back. I look forward to meeting her. She's now a senior at Roseman High School. And I've heard a very, very bright young lady. So I'm really, really excited to welcome her. So Michaela, if you're listening, we're looking forward to having you join us here on the dais. Also, let's see. Sally, do you have the pictures of this? Wanted to share with you, we finally got the partitions up in our site for part of our safe school environment. That's what I'm calling it for lack of a better title. So if you want to go, this is Tropico Middle School. You should have two pictures, yes. As you can see, there's a little area at the bottom where the parents, that's Roseman Elementary, can put their documents. So there's that glass. And Mario, you mentioned the name of the glass, and I forgot it already the other day.
Tempered glass.
Tempered glass? Yes. So these have been installed. The gentleman who installed them, the company, he had the glass all along. We were waiting on the hardware, and so he couldn't get the hardware, but now they've all been installed. So if you have a chance to go out and see them, even at Rare Earth, they have Vicki has it also over there as well. So let me see, I believe that is pretty much. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gaines.
Barbara, was that 25% of the actual school's enrollment, or 25% of what our school could hold?
25% of what our school can hold.
Okay.
The capacity of what our school can hold.
So there's a possibility we could have 250 students at the elementary school
250?
students.
Here again, I would have to see how many rooms. That would probably be more than our capacity. So I'm thinking probably not 250. We're gonna start first with trying to get back all of our special education students.
Okay.
That's our first goal, is to make sure that transportation, as I said, that we really accommodate them first and foremost. Then if there's still some room, then we would bring kids on for services such as maybe doing her assessments for her English learners that has to be done.
And you said this is after school?
No, this is during school.
This is during school, okay.
This
Yeah.
is during school. Leanne's Map Academy or clinic, whatever she calls it, that is going to be after school, because that will be teachers, volunteering who want to do that. We will pay them the extra duty hours, math teachers who want to teach math, and also some time to plan. So this will all be funded from our learning loss funding that we should hopefully have next month or soon.
So are you shooting for a certain date that we can actually have students?
That's what I was gonna ask. You're meeting this Friday together.
We're meeting
When do-
this
what's the
Friday
target
about
date?
the special ed
Yeah.
and the English learners and we don't need the MOU for the clinic. So
For the
that could
special ed?
actually come into place sooner.
We're hoping to get the math academy started by September 14th.
When are you planning the special education?
Well, that's
Students.
what we're gonna meet on
Friday.
Friday and start putting that together, probably maybe a week or two later.
Oh, okay, about a
Just
week
so
or
we can
two?
get it going as soon as we
Towards the
can.
end of
We have to have
September.
an MOU.
The special ed, again, President Sanchez, that's the one where I have to have the MOU with RTA. So that's another part, that's another MOU. But this is going on up and down the state, most, all LEAs have to have their MOU. Some of them have actually jumped in before they had an MOU, and it's kind of presented a little bit of a problem. I don't want that to happen in Southern Current, so we will be meeting with Mr. Quellman and his team, and hopefully very, very soon. But before that even, I want to make sure that we have our plan in place, because more important is our plan. What's it gonna look like? I know that almost all of our schools now in the safe schools environment that you went to see, I know you and Dr. Robinson went to see, and I'm not sure if anybody else went to see them. They're almost all done now. I know today they were at Tropico. So I think if anything, we may still need some more signs. I'm not sure where we are. Mr. Barth was moving forward on possibly getting us some more signage, and sticker things for the restrooms and things that we need. That I know we had some, but I don't know if we have enough to finish up at Roseman High School. So we may have to order a few more from Sodexo. And I know we printed some ourselves, knowing we did. a great
So
job
how are
with
we
printing
going to
at the same time.
provide food for the kids there on campus when the staff is already busy distributing it out in the community?
How would we what, Dr. Robinson?
How are we going to provide food when the staff is already out providing food for the community?
Oh, I'm sure that we will just have the number of students that we have on the campuses, that particular number of grab and go meals will be just held back for those students on the campus. And now that we've got the cafeterias pretty much set up to the distance seating and everything, they would probably just be able to eat their lunch in the cafeteria. That won't be that big of a.
Duplicate distribution partner as well, one out in the community, and each site is still distributing there.
Okay. So that won't be too hard of a.
Is there enough 5-day-a-weekers mandatory show up of teachers that have to show up 5 days a week with minimal disruption to schedules where sort of handle it?
Yeah,
You got to be on campus 5 days a week, what do you necessarily discuss?
and that's what's going to have to, that is going to be the difficult part of that MOU, Mr. Tanksley. However, keep in mind that we are really being looked at. This is not a suggestion anymore. This is a do it. Because we have no protection from the federal government, and the state government is telling us to do it, so we need to do it. It's just how fast can we get that MOU, get the transportation, so we'll have transportation in this meeting. We'll all sit down and discuss what do we have in place and what do we need to put in place between now and the end of the
How many weeks a week we've been working on the current RTA?
the current
MOU?
Yes, the current RTA MOU, as I said the last time you and I talked, Mr. Tanksley, it's in Mr. Collins' hands right now. I would think that it's like almost ready to be signed any day. We have very little differences at this point in time.
We've been sitting on it for 4 months, right? Or 4 weeks, 5 weeks? How long has the process been?
It's probably been a couple of months, but the thing of it is, Mr. Salazar from Schools Legal, he works on the MOUs for almost all of the districts in Kern, so his time is somewhat limited too. He joins us in the Zoom meetings, and so does the CTA rep, Mrs. Kathy Vanderzee. So they have schedules that, they're not always necessarily available. So we have to kind of all work together to get the schedule, but I think it's gonna happen very, very soon. And Mr. Coleman already, we're gonna talk Thursday or Friday of this week about the MOU for this special ed training. I've kind of already brought that to his attention, and I'm sure he's aware of that.
Okay, so can we go ahead and start the MOU for Monday now? So by the time we get a chance to go that way, we're at an 80% solution. Instead of waiting till order was given to go, go ahead and then we started, can we start it now? Because we kind of know what it's gonna look like.
My answer to that would be, can I get past my special ed one first and then I'll zoom in on that one? And I don't want to scare, although I will tell you that the last report I had from Kern County was hospitalization, we have to be below 8%. Kern County is already below, we're at 6. I think it was 6.3. That was like a week ago. And at one time, on the day that they threw us on the list, we were at like 29% in Kern County. We're now down to 12. We just need to hit 8. So we are coming back down to a sense of, to where we will be able, the board will be able to reconsider either a blended model or return to traditional school. We just have to stay off that list for 14 days, which includes weekends. So as soon as, I'm sure, as soon as we're off the list, you will hear about it.
Board communications, Mr. Bender.
I pretty much said everything already.
Okay,
I'm good.
you're good. Okay. Dr. Robinson?
I just want to say that I am so looking forward to getting students back in school because I just don't believe we can meet all the needs of all the students. Well, I just came back from visiting my grandchildren and I have, my granddaughter is a junior in high school. And so she's doing distance learning. She is managing everything just fine, but she's got, a house to live in. What about homeless kids? Where do they even go to sit down with a computer? And I'm just concerned about those kids with lots of needs. And I want to make sure that we are meeting their needs. And I understand that a lot of parents are wanting to keep their kids home because they want to keep their kids safe. And so I don't think everybody will come back to traditional school even if we do open up. But, I just want to make sure that some kids are getting no education. That we reach those kids and get them into these small cohorts that the governor now has said we can do.
Well, we talked about the cohorts for special education. How much longer after for the English learners are we talking about them coming in?
But it could be like within days, once we see how, once we return the special ed kids to campus, then we sort of assess the capacity at each site, then we can start addressing the needs of our English learners. And this is going to be a little more tricky because they are not in one class. They are in various classrooms. So that's going to require a little bit of thinking, and we probably have more English learners maybe at Roseman Elementary than we do at West Park. So we're going to have to see what's the best solution for that and to see how many we have in any class and try to work from there. But for sure, our first priority is the special education.
And then regarding the proclamation for September the 14th, Pray for Roseman Day, I would just encourage to participate if you can, but it will not be on the agenda. We need it for discussion, so we missed that date. So that's all I wanted to say about the proclamation. Mr. Fancy? Okay.
Oh, I do have one more thing to say. To Chase Shanks, who's fixing all of our air conditioners, as I look at this, it says completed 2 hours, completed 2 hours. And so he's going and he's getting things up and working again in a short period of time. Good job, Chase.
Consent items A through L.
I just have a question on L with the agreement with CSW. That is a contingency. If they get money for us, they get a percentage, right? Clear that up for everybody. Thank you.
So those are just grant writers?
Yeah.
In effect?
Essentially, yes, they monitor available funds at the state level, primarily for construction related projects, opportunities that the district would qualify for.
So only construction, not all opportunities.
Not all opportunities. You mean like direct class instruction kinds of grant opportunities? They do not do that. They do school facilities work.
They are the ones that got us all the bonds and to build the West Park School, the gymnasium at Tropico, and the school that they're at.
That's only new funds, that's not over there.
That's right.
They only get credit for new funds they bring in, not renewal or.
Yes, only new funds or any funds that are still available from the existing bond that has not been sold.
If they were involved in the original qualification and certification of funding for the district, they did the kindergarten project that we're currently doing, for example, so they have funding there. They took the first payment. When we move to the second, they'll have a payment out of the second payment as well. And then coming down the road, likely it will be February or March. We are entitled to reimbursement for a couple of past projects in the district. They are connected to those, so they do have a percentage drawn there. But they've been waiting for their compensation for the work that they did previously, just like the district has been waiting for our reimbursement. Right.
And with that, I will make a motion to accept A through L.
Mr. Chair, second by Dr. Robinson, all in favor? Aye. Resolution 2021-01, Ms. Gaines.
Yes, this is brought back this evening for your adoption. This is your adoption of a conflict of interest code. This is basically sort of protects and oversees what board members have to do as board members, filing of the specific forms and that sort of thing.
Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion.
Second.
Second by Bender, all in favor?
Aye.
Review to approve and adopt additional Title IX policies and regulations, Ms. Gaines.
Yes, this is also, you've seen these board policies previously, and this is, Hargis presented extensive knowledge on the Title IX policies and regulations. This is for your adoption this evening.
Do I hear a motion?
I motion that we accept the
Motion by Dr. Robinson, second by
Thanks.
MC. All in favor? Aye. Now we have review and reading of the board policies listed for approval. Ms. Gaines?
Yes, these are, again, for a second reading. We talked a little bit about these last time. The non-discrimination, harassment, again, that those fall under the associate superintendent. So these are just board policies for approval, second review and approval.
Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to accept it.
Motion by Bender, second by Dr. Robinson. All in favor? Aye. First review and reading of board policy listed. Ms. Gaines?
Yes, wanted to go over a couple of these with you. First of all, I wanted to talk about the board policy 3555, the nutrition program of compliance. We selected the committee, and I selected option 1, which is basically states that the compliance coordinator from child nutrition would have the final decision. No appeal on any question or issue by a parent would come to the board on this. It would be resolved by the whoever is placed as our compliance person, whether it would be the CDO or the supervisor of child nutrition, or even Mrs. Hargis could do this. That was the decision there. The one that I want to really bring to your attention is the board policy 6142.7 and the AR, physical education and activity. One of the things that in reading this board policy that I realize, and something that I want to do in the very, very near future, of course, finances permitting, is to return the physical education teachers to the elementary sites, one for Roseman Elementary and one for West Park. And this is the reason why. If you read this board policy, it stresses the importance of a high-quality physical education activity to encourage lifelong physical fitness from grades 1st through 12, but obviously we should also offer it for our kindergarten students, so many minutes a week. It talked about PE students being able to model the content standards in physical education, and they should be receiving their age-appropriate PE standards. And I'm not saying that our teachers at the elementary sites right now are not providing PE even prior to the distance learning, but there are unique standards to physical education, just like there are standards for math or language arts. And I think an actual physical education teacher would best provide those standards for our children. So it talks about each LEA providing that type of physical education for their students. So as soon as we have the funds, my goal is to return a PE teacher to both elementary sites.
I make a motion, we approve.
It's just information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prove it anyway.
Okay.
Hey, I don't have to fight for this anymore.
Personal items on the agenda, we have a correction on page 7. Remove Rebecca Eubanks as a mentor teacher as requested.
The question that we accept with the correction.
Correction.
Was there any reason for removal?
So what happened was, and Rebecca is a fabulous mentor, so, a little sad to take her off of there, but the person that she's supporting, she supported that person last year and she was going to support that person this year. However, the person that she's supporting, she was an intern, and so her university is going to put in for her to get her preliminary credential. So, but she probably is not going to have that until about September, October. So, but she doesn't at that point require a mentor. So that's why we took her back off.
So it's saving us money. It's saving us money,
A little bit, yeah.
2%. Any other questions?
Motion on the board.
Motion by Gutierrez, second by Dr. Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Dr. Robinson, second by
I'll second.
Bender, all in favor?
Aye.
At 8:30.